Welcome, everyone. Good evening. It's so great to have you here as Vallejo Choral Society presents our end of season concert finale. I say that as this year 2020 has been challenging for every musical organization, ours nonetheless, as anybody else. It is our 103rd season. And when the pandemic struck at prior to the end of our 102nd season, we had to cancel. We shifted and we adjusted. And we said, this organization is going to continue to thrive. We're going to continue to keep our community alive, and we're going to continue to grow as choral singers. And that's what we have done. And along the way, we have learned a lot. My vice president said, this season is impossible, so let's do impossible things. And that's what we've done. So we're glad to have you here tonight as we present our rendition in a virtual world and setting of Bach's Mass in B minor. I'm going to introduce you now to our artistic director, Derek Tam. Welcome, Derek.
Thanks, Laura. It's been such a pleasure to work with everyone and the board in particular in this most extraordinary of seasons. To everyone out there, welcome to this concert / presentation of Vallejo Choral Society's 103rd season and its first season online. Again, my name is Derek Tam, and I have the pleasure of being the artistic director of the Vallejo Choral Society. As Laura mentioned, we decided to do the impossible this year, and we focused this semester on a 13-week presentation of Johann Sebastian Bach's B minor Mass, which is a piece that, of course, looms large for choral singers across the world. It's a piece that requires fairly large resources, and while I know we have many intrepid singers, it would be a piece that would be hard for us to pull off in person. So we decided, why not? We have to explore the summit of the choral literature. Let's do it virtually. So I took the chorus on this 3-month tour of the B minor Mass. You're going to see later on in today's presentation how we went about doing the choral rehearsal, for better or worse. You'll see me trying a bunch of different things. But one of the things we did try to do, and I want to say a big kudos to all the singers who participated in the virtual choirs we did throughout the sessions, was, well, the virtual choir. I gave it away, I guess, where singers put together or recorded themselves, and we put it all together to sound like a cohesive whole. You might have seen a lot of these virtual choir things going about. Let me tell you, we're going to hear a little more about it later, that they take an incredible amount of work. And so I just want to give a shout out now to Gulick, who put most of these videos together and just corralled and encouraged people to record. The first time recording became a second time recording, then a third time, and so forth. It was so wonderful to see the growth in participation in so many ways. So what we have first for you are 2 excerpts from the B minor Mass, the Kyrie II and the Gloria, as sung by the Vallejo Choral Society.
Kyrie
If you're joining us just now, what you heard were the Kyrie II and Gloria movements from Johann Sebastian Bach's B minor Mass. Again, my name is Derek Tam, and it's my pleasure as the artistic director of the Vallejo Choral Society to talk about both the piece and our presentation today. So, as I said earlier, the B minor Mass is one of the summits of the choral literature. It's a really interesting piece, both in terms of its length. An average performance runs about 2 hours. So that makes it one of the most monumental pieces in terms of length that come out of the Baroque period. And also, it's interesting in that most likely Bach, or almost certainly, Bach never heard it in this form. The piece originally only consisted of the Kyrie and Gloria sections written for his trip in 1733 to Dresden to help his oldest son, Wilhelm Friedemann, get a job. And it was only 15 years or so after that that Bach set to work on the remaining parts of the Mass, that is, the Credo, the Sanctus, and the Agnus Dei. For all practical purposes, Bach had no reason to compose a piece such as this. As a devout Lutheran working in a Lutheran town, he had no need to compose a Catholic Mass. Simply put, the Lutherans didn't use all those parts of the liturgy. But Bach was perhaps aiming towards something larger, towards a higher ideal, to preserving his music. And he set about doing this in a very interesting way, in that over the past century, scholars and musicologists have found that most of the Mass is what we would call, in musical terms, a parody. Not that it's something to laugh at, but parody in a musical term, in the musical sense, means that we are using old pieces, pre-existing pieces, and refashioning them for different use. Essentially, Bach took what he thought was the best of over 3.5 decades of composing and set to refashion it into the B minor Mass. We are so lucky that the piece survives at all. A lot of Bach's works were lost after his death, and it was not until the mid-1800s, I forget the year offhand, but I think it was in the 1850s, so over 100 years after Bach's death, that the piece was even performed in whole. And so from then, of course, it's a whole different story, but we are so fortunate to have the chance to continue to dive into Bach's genius today. As I mentioned earlier as well, it's been a very interesting season nonetheless. How do you take what we do in person, in an in-person rehearsal, that intimacy of communication, and transfer it to technology, transfer it to Zoom? So what you're going to see next is a highlight reel of all the various things that we try to do to make it fun and engaging for our singers. We were unable to sing at the same time because of the limitations of Zoom and the latency, so the lag between sound from one place to another, even with internet. But we decided to use other means. I was able to also give a lot more context than I usually would be able to do in a regular concert. So that was really a treat for me to kind of do a little more research and to fashion it in a cogent way that hopefully was interesting for our singers for 90 minutes a week. Another really fun thing that we were able to do was to delve into the solos and duets of the B minor Mass. Usually, when we present a large-scale choral work, we have the opportunity to engage outside professional soloists to sing the solos, and of course they sound amazing and beautiful, and it's really a treat to enjoy that. But in this, using this medium, we were actually able to dive in. Some intrepid singers took that opportunity to dive in and to learn the solos and to sing them very beautifully. We had a little master class in which we were able to polish some of these duets, and they were re-recorded, and you'll see 3 duets eventually here. What we're going to have first is the highlights reel, and then also a duet Et in unum Dominum, sung by Diane Choquette and Rebecca Gulick.
That's the interesting thing about the B minor Mass. Another way to look at it from a listener's perspective is that it's a compilation of pretty much every major sacred or secular style that was available to Bach. That he took, not only his best music, but what he thought was sort of the best music, contemporary practice, and old practice, and put them together. And that's the fascinating thing about the B minor Mass. Or one of the fascinating things is that this is supposed to be an encyclopedic work, not only in a theological standpoint, but to encompass the world as Bach saw it.
Yeah, I think I understand your question, and that has to do with beat accentuation. So in a lot of this music of this late Baroque period, they often thought in something called beat hierarchy. We often say, when we're learning meter for the first time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, so forth. Or like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, etc. So that probably, in relation to melismas, that's probably what your directors were talking about. So in the example we just did, it's 16th notes, right? So beat 1 and beat 3 were emphasized. Right, because they were the start of the pattern and they fell in the strong beat.
Notice.
So, as I said, we've gone from the somber Kyrie. So we talked about, right, the Kyrie, the grand opening gesture, right, very somber and that very sad, unyielding fugue, that giant fugue that starts. Of course, there's a beautiful love duet in the middle that is a duet that we don't get to sing as a chorus. But then the second Kyrie, of course, is again very somber, right? Last week we talked about F sharp minor, the misanthropic key. So it ends, let me play a little bit of the end of the Kyrie II. And so we can just get the feeling of how the key changed from the Kyrie to the Gloria. Serious fugue, and then we get right, this joyful dance.
Sometimes what you need is a little impulse. That was not great, but it's really dry in here. Right, but the impulse helps too. Another impulse you can do is just write that, imagine an H, right? Just a little H gets to flowing again. So let's do that again, one more time. Now that we're having it, the other thing is to think of it in, like we were working on a couple weeks ago, is it? The where's that motor inside? I find the quarter note is really useful here. So 4. So if you can even put that in your body, kind of da 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 da. Don't go overboard, but it helps. Ready and. Et Resurrexit, October 28th, 2020. As we talked about last week, I really see the 2 movements we worked on last week, the Et Incarnatus the Crucifixus, and then the movement we're working on today at Resurrexit as sort of the heart of the entire Mass.
Wasn't that a treat to hear Diane and Rebecca singing like angels? It was such a pleasure, as I said earlier, to do that masterclass format. And then I was talking with everyone you see on screen now, just how everyone just took ownership of the musical content. I think that was one of my highlights in doing this virtual choir project with everyone, was that because we couldn't rehearse together, I think one of the hardest things about conducting in rehearsals is that it's hard to convey that a sense of that everyone needs to take ownership of the music. And with the virtual choir, since I couldn't hear anyone most of the time, it meant that we all had to engage, and all I could do was sort of maybe set the terms of the conversation musically, so to speak, and then hope that it all worked out. And fortunately, it makes me look better, I must say selfishly, that we hear such wonderful singing, but it's definitely mostly not me. Anyways, I just want to introduce here several of our singers and members of the board. We've all met Laura Pyles, president of the board. Rebecca is our intrepid vice president. Laura MacLeod is our secretary. Without them and the other members of our board, Shares, Sarah, and Wendy, we would not be here today. So let's give them a round of applause for all the hard work they've put in this semester. And of course, they have such wonderful singing voices. You're going to hear all three of them in just a second with two more duets. We have the Christe eleison with Laura M. and Megan. And then we have the Domine Deus with Laura P. and Rebecca. And I just kind of wanted to ask, was everything I said about doing the masterclass and taking the musical bull by the horns true? How was that experience?
Laura? Or
with Laura. It was, yeah, for me, it was really just different experience doing that virtually and learning it, feeling like I didn't know what I was doing, and then having the masterclass, getting tips from Derek was really special to have that experience kind of really personalized the format that we were doing it.
Yeah, I agree. It was a great format actually for taking in a masterclass. It was my first, and it was really enriching and fun to, bring the duet up to the point where we knew all the notes, and then just to start working on phrases, especially in the duet format, because we learned insights about the interplay between the two voices. And so, yeah, it was just, to me, I think that the virtual aspect of it was actually a benefit. And I'll just add that, the master class that we had on 11/14 was fantastic, but I feel like this whole session has been a master class. So with the Bach Mass in B minor, and I can't imagine a better way to just delve in with this dual aspect of, online rehearsals and music appreciation course. It really was a master class, all 13 weeks.
I would echo that. And say that it was really exciting to be able to do that in this new format. At the same time, for me, it was really challenging too, because we didn't have Derek helping to lead us through the rehearsal and sing all together as the choir. So I found it challenging, but there are new things in it that made me feel much better. So it was a great opportunity. And Derek, you made it a safe environment for those of us not used to doing this kind of work to do it. So that was a thrill.
Thank you for saying that. That really means a lot to me. That, when so much is feeling unsafe right now, that we have this little oasis of musical joy every Wednesday. Thank you. And I want to ask Rebecca how it was to take up the mantle of doing the bulk of the video editing. Rebecca so graciously offered at the beginning of this session when I was feeling anxious about the amount of work it would take to put it together, to do a lot of the legwork. And I think it's clear that she went above and beyond, because not only did she put all the videos together, but the gentle cajoling, I'm sure, of getting so many people to record and to make it that a fun and enjoyable experience. You'll see in many of the virtual choir backgrounds, Rebecca's Casbah, if you will. So yeah, tell us a little bit more. Will you do it again?
Oh yeah, that was a blast. It was really magical to work with every singer and get the individual part recorded, and then get to go and start sewing it all together, because there's this, you get them all aligned, all the tracks of each individual singer, you get them all aligned, and then you hit play, and it's like, oh my God, you just hear the choir and the harmonies and all these dynamic things that just are kind of, to me, kind of magical. So I had the best seat in the house as far as this session and getting to do that. And I was really grateful to Derek's, mentoring with Final Cut Pro. And I'm still a total newbie, but he's got some great techniques that I'm going to try to acquire some more, skills as we move forward. So thank you, Derek, for this opportunity.
Oh, the pleasure was definitely all mine in this case. And what we're going to get a chance to hear now is some beautiful singing by all the lovely folks you see here. So again, what we have next are the Christe eleison movement, and as well as the Domine Deus movement from the B minor Mass.
celestis Deus Pater omnipotens, Deus Pater omnipotens, Domine Filius Regeneres, Domine Deus, Rex Celestis Deus Pater omnipotens, omnipotens, Domine Deus, Rex Celestis Deus Pater omnipotens, Deus Pater omnipotens. Domine Deus, Agnus Dei, Domine Deus, Agnus Dei, Agnus Dei, Filius Patris. Domine Deus, Agnus Dei, Domine Deus, Agnus Dei, Agnus Dei, Filius Patris. Domine Deus, Agnus Dei, Agnus Dei, Domine Deus, Agnus Dei, Filius Patris.
Can we give all our duet singers a round of applause? I know you have already been, but three lovely, lovely duets. We just heard two of them. Of course, the Christe eleison and the Domine Deus. As I'm reading through the chats, it's so heartening to see so many familiar names. One of the greatest things or the most poignant things about this time is how we've seen the bonds of community remain strong even when we are isolated. It was such a pleasure to have so many of our singers join us virtually, but it was also such a pleasure to welcome folks from all over. Usually in-person rehearsal, we're limited to regions relatively close to Vallejo, or this Vallejo and the cities around it. But in this time, people could come in from anywhere. And it was such a delight to see both old and new friends join us on this adventure. So what I'm looking forward to is even after this session, that those links can remain. And of course, I'll be telling you a little more about what we're going to be doing in the spring. Not yet, though, but it's really been a pleasure to see old links, old ties being strengthened and new ones being created in this time. And when we had new friends join it, they just dived right in. and also participated in the virtual choir. In the beginning of this program, you saw the Kyrie II and the Gloria, which were done relatively early in the semester. Now you're going to hear the Crucifixus, which I consider to be the heart of the B minor Mass. There's a beautiful choral section right in the middle of the credo that really symbolized to me sort of that way that only Bach could get to your heart. You're going to hear the Crucifixus now, performed by the Vallejo Choral Society virtual choir. That again was the Crucifixus from the B minor Mass. We have one more piece for you today. Thank you again for all of you who are joining us for this concert, for everyone who joined for this really special 3-month period. I hope sincerely that this was engaging, fun, and it's something that you would like to repeat again. So here's my pitch about some of our VCS's upcoming spring plans. In February, we're going to do another guest lecturer series exploring various choral topics from a list of distinguished guest speakers. And then later on in the spring, we're going to do another deep dive into a masterpiece of the choral literature. I think there are going to be some links put in to the website about expressing your interest for the learning more about the February speaker series. That's open to everyone. You don't have to be, it's going to be more talk and little demonstration and not singing so much. So if that's a way that you feel comfortable engaging in, I hope you will participate. And also, let's see. Yes, you'll also learn more about our later programming then. I'm going to turn it back over to Laura, who has some other things to say about our upcoming year.
Oh, Derek, thanks, Derek. I just want to reiterate, Derek, how wonderful a job you have done since March, when we had to go into an online forum to be able to continue as a choir. The experimentation, the growth, the energy you have put in to it all has been remarkable. And I would encourage anybody who's curious about this, we don't have any geographical borders anymore at this point. So you're welcome to join us and explore this. It's a light in a time of darkness, and it's just really rejuvenating to be able to listen to music and to join with people and learning a bit more. I can tell you that we had people this season join us who are not normally choral singers, and stretched themselves and exposing themselves to a new world and new material. So I welcome you to do the same. I believe that Laura MacLeod, our secretary, has gone ahead and put links into a form to be able to sign up if you're interested in the spring season. Also, there's an opportunity to donate. You're always welcome to see what we're up to at vallejochoral.org. So I welcome you to check out our webpage there. And before I turn it back over, Derek, to you, I just want to take a moment to really thank all of the members who participated this season, even those members who may not have participated in the online forum. Were there to cheer us on and support us, and we miss singing with you live. We know we will do it again someday, but for now, this is how we gather, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to see everybody's faces, even if we're not always hearing each other in the moment. We do it ultimately, and I also want to thank the board for their work. I know Derek has been gracious to do that, but we're a volunteer board. We all have day jobs, but this is our passion. And so we really appreciate you being here to share this special evening with us. Thank you for that. And I wish you all well. I think this is the last time I speak, Derek, but I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to share this space with you. I think we're going to be on a little bit just to say farewell to everyone after this last piece, the beautiful and just heavenly Dona, nobis, pacem, the final movement of the B minor Mass. We are joined in this piece by a group of instrumentalists as well. We have Dominic Favia on 3 trumpets. He's playing the natural trumpet, which is a very interesting instrument that you can ask me about some other time. Cynthia Black on violins and viola in historical setup. Gretchen Clausen on cello, and myself on harpsichord. And of course, the wonderful singers of VCS who make it all possible. So again, the Dona, nobis, pacem from the B minor Mass.
Oh
Hopefully that just warms the cockles of your heart. Again, the Dona nobis pacem from the B minor Mass. Thank you again for joining us today. It was really my pleasure to share this hour with you. Best wishes to you and yours this holiday season, in this time of isolation, that we can stay connected this way, through the power of music.
There's nothing more to add on top of that. It's the power of music. It's the light in the world. At the end of a long work day, I would say, there's Bach. But there's always something more to look forward to in music and to learn in music. And I'd like to thank Derek and the Vallejo Choral Society for the opportunity to be on this journey, even in times like these. And to echo Derek's sentiment, we're so glad you joined us this evening. Thank you so very much. We wish you and yours a very joyous and healthy holiday season, and look forward to future opportunities where we can share our music and our joy and our passion with you all. Thank you so much.